Cyclone Tej closing in on eastern Yemen. Still a powerful and dangerous cyclone, really closing in now on eastern Yemen, not far from the border with Oman, and both areas will be affected by this storm. It's at 15.2 north, 52.6 degrees east, and you can see how close it's getting to the coast now as we look at that satellite imagery. As of 2 p.m. Gulf Standard Time, it had 90 mph winds, 145 km/h, sustained with higher gusts. An estimated pressure of 965 millibars, moving northwest at 10 mph or 16 km/h. That's a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, high end at that, and is still packing some pretty strong winds. Here is the extent of the wind field displayed on the map, up to 100 nautical miles in the northeastern quadrant, and a lot of that real estate along the coast there will be impacted by storm force winds. It is just 67 kilometers from Haswain, 81 from Nishtun, 118 from Ghaydah, 178 from Dalkut, and 259 from Salalah. The first three locations there in Yemen and the latter two in Oman. And all of those locations are expecting to get a bit of a battering from this storm. It looks like Salalah will, the largest of the cities in that list, will get less impacts than first expected, which is good news, but still they could expect some inclement weather. We are very concerned about flash flooding because we are looking at up to 30 inches of rainfall near the Oman-Yemen border. That's 750 millimeters, with significant amounts expected on either side. Heavy rainfall and high rain rates are likely to cause flash flooding, particularly in coastal regions. We're also very concerned, given the geography of the area, about landslides as well. So let's take a look at the forecast. It's a fairly short forecast, of course, because the storm is expected to die off quite quickly. The wind field evaporates very quickly as we go through the week, and there it is, it's gone, dissipated by Wednesday as it moves inland over the desert areas there and mountains as well. It's certainly not a friendly environment for any tropical cyclone. Now, previously we weren't expecting really strong winds along the coast. Well, that's changing. It does look like we will get hurricane force winds reaching the coastline in a few areas now. 90 mph is the current wind estimate, which is hedged between the IMD and the satellite estimates, which have taken a tumble, and I think the meteorological agencies will downgrade this storm fairly soon. They're still running Category 2, 100 mph, but it is on its way down, but still very dangerous. There's the JTWC forecast cone. They're expecting a landfall near 85 mph and then rapid weakening after that. Interestingly, they are expecting the storm to move even further west than forecast, making landfall near Haswain actually, and then moving well inland, rather than stalling a little bit off the coast near Ghaydah, as the GFS is forecasting, as you can see there, taking it along that coastline and then eventually moving it inland. The rest of the forecast period is a formality. The storm sinks without a trace by the looks of things, certainly in terms of winds. Watch again that powerful storm reaching land very quickly there within the next 24 hours and then sweeping inland. See a little bit of a wind pulse there, but apart from that, really not much going on after the storm moves inland. Here's the reflectivity radar simulation, and you can see just how powerful that rain is, or how much of a torrent it is as it moves along the coastline there. Maybe some land friction and then moves inland. The northern side of the storm is going to be by far the wettest by the looks of things, and you can see you saw there some of the remnants of the storm, some rain there moving inland over the deserts of Saudi Arabia and Oman. But the storm itself, during the next 48 hours as it makes landfall, is going to dump a huge amount of rainfall, and that's why we're very concerned about flooding, not just for the amount of rain, but also the speed at which all of this rain falls as well. There it is once again. This is the rainfall accumulations, and as you can see there, some really light colours along the coast, and we're looking at possibly maximums of 30 inches near enough there. Looking at Salalah, that's around 6 inches forecasted now, 150 millimeters. At Ghaydah, it's probably close to 20 inches, maybe a little bit more than that. That is 500 millimeters, and in many other locations in and around that area, we're looking at high rainfall amounts, as you can clearly see on this chart. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that wide an area, but of course there are localities and cities in that zone, so we are very concerned about that area. Sea surface temperatures probably won't mean very much moving forward now, but they're probably hovering at around 28 degrees Celsius, which is still substantial for tropical cyclones. Not quite what it was earlier when it was around 30 degrees where the storm originally formed and rapidly intensified, as you remember, but still looking decent as it moves towards the coastline, and that's not going to be the source of any weakening. It's going to be the land interaction, probably very large amounts of dry air, and I think actually the storm zone structure has impeded it a little bit too. Well, here it is right now on the satellite imagery. It had that core there looking quite powerful, but it does look like it's falling apart slowly but surely. Western side looks fairly open and bare now as we look at this visible imagery over the course of the last 12 hours or so, and you can see how it's been progressing. It did look like it might be coming back briefly, but the convection is pretty shallow as you look at this imagery here on the Force 13 website. You can visit that, force13.com/satellite. So it's quite spread about, so I don't think this storm has a chance to strengthen before landfall, but it does look like a Category 1 landfall will occur when it does reach that coastline within the next 24 hours, depending on where exactly it does make landfall. If it does make landfall on that area that juts out, that little peninsula, then that could be within 12 hours, but it is going to parallel that coast, I think, for a little time before it moves in. So a very dangerous storm for this eastern part of Yemen, and it's going to be extremely wet as well.